How is it going, YouTube? Malagant here. We are going to be checking out Wolcen, talking about Wolcen a little bit. I'll be giving some like basic information for the people that are like contemplating if they would like to play this game or not. And I'm guessing the information that I'm going to be giving, if you're familiar with this game, you'll probably already know about it, but hopefully it's going to be useful nevertheless, even for those people. So the game is coming out February 13th. It has been on development for about like 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? At the very least, on early access, it has been 2 years, probably developments more, actually. I said something stupid. And on top of it all, this is a game that I've like purchased 2 years ago, actually, the second that it was out on the early access. And I didn't necessarily play it that long, simply because like the state of the game that was available to public, the client itself, was like not necessarily so stable. The frame rate wasn't so great every time I checked it out, and they were doing like drastic changes when it comes to development. They have taken some like U-turns from some of the stuff that they had promised. For instance, like open world was the first goal, camera turning was another goal. Right now it's much more linear game, but I'm kind of going to be refusing to talk about the game itself quite a bit in this video alone, because like right now as I'm doing this video, the game is not out yet, and the part that is available to me is not necessarily like that big. The maximum level, as you can see over here, is level 20, and when the game is out in 10 days it's going to be level 90 if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, there's going to be like much more content obviously, and then the real game will be there, and then hopefully from there I can actually like give you more information about the game itself and what you could expect as well. But whatever is available to me right now, I'll try to like talk about it. So that being said, I'll also like try to avoid comparing the game to the other stuff that are already completed and like polished. One thing that I can already say is that like the game is finally running pretty smooth. The frame rate is smooth, the client is stable, and we are going to be having live servers coming up February 13th. So that could be the first information that I can give actually. The game is going to be on live servers, so you will need a connection, but you will also have an option to play it offline. So you could like click this button on the right top to like go offline. One thing that I can tell about this is that like you won't be able to play the same characters, so that is a good thing for a lot of people, since like a lot of people are like bothered from the capability of cheating in games. On the live servers, obviously, since your save game is not going to be located in your computer, you won't be able to, alter the saves. And I'm guessing most of the people are going to be playing that way. But that said, to play Wolcen, you don't necessarily need a connection. You could just play offline as well, and you will have the same content, other than I'm guessing like trading and playing with other people. I'm not necessarily sure it is possible to like connect to each other in the offline mode. Probably not. So first, like small information about the game is that when you're creating your character, the game gives you 3 options right over here with like magic, ranged, and melee. And if you look at the top left, it says like choose your starting gear. So this basically means that like there are no classes in Wolcen. At the very least in beta right now there are no classes. So perhaps like maybe later on, maybe there are going to be some ascensions or something. I'm not necessarily sure at all. Like I haven't read even something like this. Maybe there was some information about it, but there could be. But right now in beta there is no such thing. The only thing that you select from here is giving you like 1 starting weapon and 1 skill with it. So if you select magic over here, you end up with like a staff, and you end up with like this consuming embers. It's a fireball ability basically. It's like a small AoE fireball explosion, and it's like a projectile that is traveling towards the target. The same can be said for like melee and the ranged ability as well. So no matter like which one you pick, other than like the starting weapon and the spell, when you're progressing into the game, you can just change your weapon, and there you go, you are like an archer now, even though you started melee. It's not necessarily locking you into some sort of like a path when you open a character. There are no classes right now. Let's look into my character right over here. I'm playing some sort of like an elementalist. I did share another gameplay video if you would like to see it. Some sort of like a level 20 gameplay video, just an upload from my stream, nothing special, no special YouTube content, but it should give you like an idea of what is available in beta, especially when it comes to like a spellcaster. So this is like the main town right now that you start. As I said, like in beta right now, only Acts 1 is available. I think there are going to be 3 acts in total, and there are going to be like other versions that that you could play as well. There's some sort of like a bounty that is available from like this guy that is giving you some sort of like a quest, and then that quest is opening a portal over here, and then you can like continue completing that quest and then come back and get rewarded from this guy. And then this guy over here right now is capable of like, it is the gameplay that I've shared. This guy is so capable of like opening some sort of like a challenge dungeon for you. You could like, you know, for gold you could make it a little bit harder, and at the same time you could gain more magic find. So, but I'm not necessarily sure if these things are going to be the only end game available when level 90 comes. I think they already teased some sort of like another end game mechanic that's going to be, you know, introduced into the game with the release. So I'll probably shy away from talking about like the end game of the game, even though I'm pretty sure there are lots of people, you know, curious about that as well. So stay tuned, and I'll give you much more information when the game is out as soon as possible, I promise. Let's talk about the attributes first. The attributes are really interesting, even though they're extremely simple. So we have like 4 attributes in our hands: ferocity, toughness, agility, and wisdom. Every level we are gaining about like 10 points spent into these. One thing that is pretty cool is that like every single one of these are pretty relevant for almost every character out there. That is something that I really like. So ferocity, we have the crit chance and health regen. Toughness, we have like resistance score and health, like raw health. Agility, we have attack speed, cast speed, and dodge chance. And then we have like wisdom over here, which is the ailments, which is like the debuff and the damage over time stuff. Just like in Grimdawn, you know, Grimdawn, if I'm not mistaken right now off the top of my head, there were 2 damage types that didn't necessarily have a corresponding ailment, if you would like to say it that way, from the Wolcen language. They had like damage over time for every other damage type, right? So in Wolcen, every single one of them has a corresponding ailment. So I think like physical damage has a stun chance, which is right over here. Physical with the stun, and then you have toxic with the poison, not surprising there, and then rend becomes a bleed, fire becomes burn, frost becomes freeze. You probably understand the deal. And there are about like 9 different damage types in this game, so 9 different ailments as well. So the wisdom is basically the bread and butter when it comes to like damage over time or the debuff sort of a character, or like, you know, boosting that side of a character. So about the attributes, the interesting part that I wanted to talk about is that, you know, there's this thing right over here. If you can see it on the screen here, you can. 270% damage I'm getting from just you know, distributing points into my attributes. And this is basically a multiplier that is, yeah, you know, modifying the total damage to deal with pretty much everything. So how does this work? If you read over here, it says bonus damage gained from the attribute points assigned. The primary attributes gives more damage than the secondary, and so on. So my primary is my ferocity, as you can see, since I have the most points into it, and my secondary is the toughness. So the third is like the wisdom, and then the last one is agility. So if I would put some points into agility, I would gain the least amount of damage in that sense. However, there's something really cool about that. So I did go ahead and like put everything in ferocity. I just wanted crit and the maximum damage on this guy. But the cool part about this is that for level 20, having 380 ferocity for this game, it feels like some sort of like a mediocre if you check this bar out. So this is some sort of like a, if I understood this correctly, and I think I did, this is some sort of like a diminishing return that is introduced for the stats. So the more points that you spend into ferocity, let's say, even though since it's your primary, you're gaining the more damage, the more points you spend in the ferocity, since it is getting more and more, it starts giving you less crit strike chance every click. So it is diminishing, basically. It is very interesting. So if you would like to get the maximum damage, you would have to, you know, give most points into your primary, but in that sense, you're not necessarily getting the most out of the attributes that you spent, attribute points that you spent. So it's a very interesting system in that. So you could probably like find like a balance in between the points that you would spend. If you're very greedy and you think that your damage will be enough, you could definitely like distribute sort of evenly and get like most tankiness, most dodge chance with the attack speed, the most crit chance, and the most ailment support, I suppose, from every single stat that is given to you. Obviously, like, distributing these stats are not necessarily the only way to gain them. From the passive tree as well, you could gain bulks of stats as well. So this is the passive tree. We're gaining right now in the beta. We're gaining 2 passive points every level. I'm not necessarily sure if this is going to be the case come the release. As I said, we will have 90 levels. I really doubt if we're gonna have like 178 or something passive points available to us. But that said, right now 38 are available, so we have gained like 2 per level. But as I said, like, I'm suspecting it might be because like they wanted the game to be a little bit more engaging and more fun, since there are like very few levels available in the beta. So it is possible. So I'm not gonna say for sure what is going on in the launch. There are, as you can see, let's say like these are the circles. The outermost circle is not necessarily available in the beta. It will be available with the launch. These 2 are the ones that are available. And the cool part about the passives and the, you know, most interesting part is the fact that like you can rotate these things. The only thing that I'm going to mention about this, you know, is you might imagine what is the you know, good part about rotating something like this is the fact that like you can start from like, let's say, this red inner slice, and then I can start from like the purple inner slice, but we could connect to the same thing. You would like to connect to Warlock, I would like to connect to Warlock. You can start from red and then connect to Warlock, and I can start from the, you know, purple and connect to Warlock still. So that is the best part about this. But one thing is that like you do need to be connected. So once you have, you know, distributed your points into the Warlock, you cannot necessarily rotate and then take something else from the same connection. For them to be activated, as you can see, these are deactivated for me right now. So they at all times they need to be connected to be active. But yeah, there's this sort of like a rotation, especially with the 3rd ring being introduced. I'm pretty sure it's going to be creating and rippling quite a lot of different build capabilities. You don't necessarily need to start from the beginning every single time. If you want to, you know, go to the second circle, you could definitely travel inside the second circles as well. These are like now connected nodes. I'm not gonna go in too deep to the passive tree. It's pretty good. Something that I'm looking forward to. There's some like very curious stuff in there, and there's some stuff that I'm kind of scared to check out. But right now I probably should, and I'm checking it out on stream every single day. If you would like to check me out on Twitch TV, Malagant, you're feel free to. So after the passives, we could actually talk about the skills a little bit in the game. You start the game with 1 skill. So if you have chosen a melee character, you start with a melee skill. And then afterwards you have the option to buy a skill from this guy as well. You know, every single 15 minutes or something, this merchant is like resetting his stash, and you could buy some skills from him. But at the same time, skills are dropping like items to the ground, and you can right click them and learn them. Then they go into your skill book, spell book, let's say. In the beta there was like 4 main abilities, and then on your mouse there was like 2. So we have like 6 buttons available. I think later on into the levels we're gonna have like 2 more buttons available to us. So they're going to be like 8 in total. And something that is really cool about these skills is that like they're kind of tied to the weapons that you're using. So where is it written, Hori? So if you check this out, it says like Bulwark of Dawn, and the spell unusable with staves or catalyst. The catalyst is like a caster offhand basically. So you could use any sort of like a main hand, anything, as long as you have your offhand as catalyst, or if you have like a staff in your main hand, you will be able to cast this spell. Another thing, like this is the case for every single spell basically. They have their like, you know, corresponding requirements when it comes to what sort of a weapon you need to be holding. And from then onwards, they do level as well. So as you're leveling your character, they're like gaining experience as well. Once you reach like the maximum level, for me it was level 20 in this content. Once you reach this, it is very easy to put something like level 1 spell and then level it up. It was incredibly fast actually, it was no time. That said, as they level, they unlock these points. So for like 20 levels, a skill has 20 points for modifiers. These modifiers, let me tell you, they're extremely cool in my opinion. This is the thing that like I am looking forward to most, because there were some abilities in this game that I really didn't like at the start from the get-go, and then as the modifiers unlocked, as the skill leveled up, I was like, holy shit, this is actually getting good, it's actually getting really interesting. So this alone made me kind of like forced me to check out every single spell that was available to me, and I think I came up with the, you know, best combination that I would like to. So we can like check out this tier of ethereal spell. It's some sort of like a shard dropping from the sky, and then, you know, after a delay it's exploding on the floor. It's a massive damage. So if I reset the modifiers right over here and then try to edit it, so without the modifiers, if you pay attention, it's actually a smaller area. That's the thing that we could see. To increase the area of effect, we could take such modifier. You're gonna spend about like 4 points for this, and you can reset this anytime. That's like on the go, you don't even need to be in town. That is very cool in my opinion. As you level up, you could just like distribute those points so the area becomes bigger. Reduce the willpower cost, that's pretty much your mana. Reduce this creation delay, so it becomes it falls down faster. Increases damage, yes please. Longer creation delay, but increased damage once again. More likely to deal crits, that's kind of cool as well. This was my build with the tier ability. More likely to apply debuff dots, so in this case, since it's a cold, I suppose it's gonna freeze. It's more likely to freeze the enemies, and it converts the damage to fire, so it also increases the damage that it deals. I don't necessarily know which one is going to be more damage. Like if I remove like the area, and if I remove like deal crits and take this one, I will probably have a little bit more damage on this ability, as long as I have like, you know, the means to crit with this ability for sure. So you can actually like see the skill detail on the right side as well as you're editing them. The willpower cost, the mana cost basically, the cooldown, the crit chance of it, you know, the crit damage of it, and the average damage is about like 7,000. So we could actually like drop these two, take this one, and it still becomes about like 7,000. So I think it is not necessarily that much. It's not that worthy. So I'm guessing this average damage is kind of calculating the fact that, like, you know, you have a chance to crit 64% of the time or something. Not necessarily sure. I didn't really like check it out so much. Next level, 40 damage bonus as well. Apparently it's showing that too. So very detailed information right here, and it's pretty cool. The same goes for like the detailed information on your stats and your combat information as well, the character information, let's say. There is a dodge roll in this game. It's pretty smooth. You don't necessarily need to dodge roll. The good part about this is that like it's definitely faster than your running speed. So in that case, like it is some sort of like a, you know, last resort that you should be using. Most of the time, you can pretty much stand still and tank most of the things while leveling. When you're fighting some sort of like a boss, when there's oh no abilities coming, it is very well telegraphed. So you can easily tell like, okay, I do need to be stepping out of this. So you usually have the time to like, you know, step out by just running. In the worst case scenario, you could definitely roll out as well. One thing that is annoying about the rollout is that it has unit collision by default. So if you're surrounded, you will actually get body blocked, and you'll be spending the entire stamina bar in no time, even though you didn't really roll anywhere. So if I'm not mistaken, this is actually some sort of like a bonus from the passives. I just need to find it. Maybe there. Yeah, active dodge can go through the enemies. So this is the one that is like removing the unit collision from your stamina dodge rolls, and that is sort of mandatory if you're not necessarily playing a character that has a blink ability like my character does. So I don't necessarily need to, you know, if I'm body blocked, if I'm frozen, I just press this and I'm out of that. But if you're playing like a melee character, I'm guessing you would definitely hate to be body blocked. You would need to get out with like a stamina dodge roll or something. So in that case, this node over here would be pretty much mandatory in my Slipping Shadow. It is, in my opinion, it's pretty responsive. The dodge roll, that is, I have gotten caught a couple of times, even though I felt like I reacted to something. I did still get punished for it, but it was very few times, so it didn't really like annoy me so far. I it's whatever for me, to be honest with you. I think it's well implemented. That is what I can tell for sure. There is the resource mechanic in this game in every single character. It starts with like maximum willpower, right? This is your mana, and then everything that you cast as a character, like this one for instance, is using willpower, so I'm mana. But as a reaction to this, as I spend willpower in this game, I must gain rage. You can also gain rage by taking damage on, I think, on all characters. I might be mistaken here. And you can also obviously gain rage by, like, you know, attacking with like melee weapons or like a bow or something. That's also going to be generating rage as well. But by default, if I'm not mistaken, willpower is always regenerating by itself. So what do you do with a character like this then? Like, how do you keep up your mana, right? There's, just like in Path of Exile, there are going to be like flasks, potion spots. Right now there are only 2 of them available. It looks like there are going to be 5 in total. So I could just like spend my mana and then chug my flask to, you know, get to willpower generating really quickly, get like a burst of generation, and then also a small generation as well over time. A lot of people told me on stream that like they didn't necessarily like the system when it comes to the mana. One thing that I can tell you is that you do need to commit to it pretty hard and heavily. There are lots of stuff that you need to do. For instance, like nodes like this one, spell power cost reduction. So every single spell that I cast is 10% cheaper. That is very big, and it adds up. There's another thing over here, if you pay attention, 20% rage and willpower cost reduction. That's crazy. And we have 2 gloves, so we could have that much more from the other side as well. This is not necessarily the best roll, it's the 15%, but it is still something. So my spells are definitely cheaper in that sense, right? And then if I have the means to offense, basically, I'll be able to kill stuff as fast and then, you know, keep on using my potion as well. By generating charges into my potion. And there are other stats, such as like transfer time reduction between the willpower and the rage, so that it's like trying to keep it on one side. This works both ways, obviously. So if you're in rage, it will make it slower to go into willpower, and if you're in willpower, it will make it slower to go into rage. You could also like increase the cap that you have. So in this case, I have like 200 maximum willpower from my passive tree. You could have even more. You could have 200 more from here, and I'm pretty sure there are some like unique items out there that are capable of, like, you know, kind of modifying your willpower or like the generation and stuff like that as well. It's pretty cool in my opinion, very cool. This game is also going towards the way of, let's say, Path of Exile when it comes to some of the unique items. You know, they're coming with certain penalties, say. Definitely, even though they're like very strong. If you pay attention to this thing doesn't necessarily have a level requirement. The item level itself is level 18, but you could wear this with like a level 1 character as well. Whereas the level requirement is on the bottom right. Look at this one, required level 10. This one doesn't really have a required level. It gives you 45% spell damage. That is absolutely insane for a starting character, but it gives you minus 25% maximum health. So you lose 1/4 of your HP just by wearing this. So I have like 3.9k HP. I would have 3.3k if I would wear that. So this game is also coming up with, as I said, like Path of Exile penalty system on some of the unique items. Not all of them. Some of the uniques are just coming up with pluses, nothing else. Like this one requires level 1. And it doesn't necessarily have anything minus, to be honest with you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that like every unique is going to have a penalty coming with them. But it still is. It still is very cool in my opinion, yeah. I'm just thinking if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. There's somebody on the door, so I am going anyways. I think I'm pretty much done. Thank you very much for watching YouTube. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.